Thank you for the nice introduction. We are here to discuss AI in business and entrepreneurship. How many of you in your childhood has dreamt of being superhumans? Please raise your hands. Okay, me too. So my pursuit here is to show how we can become superhumans with AI. I will take you through the need, what does it mean to be, the AI aspect of it, how to learn AI, and summarize with an action plan. So the knowledge explosion that we are seeing is kind of overwhelming us. In this knowledge explosion, we are also seeing AI poaching into our area of jobs. The future of jobs can be balanced between remote and at workplace, while it can also be significantly AI driven. We can also have single owner companies which are scaled up with the help of AI. This is a huge transformation which is happening across us. Whereas we believe we are more empathetic, AI is more logical in nature and smart. AI is considered as a simulation of human intelligence processed by machines, especially computer systems. Is it scary? Okay, when we look at the Stanford Artificial Intelligence Index report 2025, AI performance has reached close to human capabilities in many areas. But remember, many areas. Business is all in for AI. 75% of businesses are started integrating some form of AI. And this kind of diffusion is faster compared to earlier. And unlike earlier, diffusion, as we see in Industry 4, is more broad. Like it has impacts on physical, digital, and biological. And even more concerning is a report talking from the future of jobs. It says most of us would need to reinvent ourselves every 6 years. Isn't this enough reason that we really need superhuman powers? To be superhuman, we really have to look at some role models, right? That's where here I have jotted down Spider-Man and Hanuman. Um, I apologize that I have not included a superwoman, but the principle is what we want to discuss here. With great power comes great responsibility. That's the point. So responsibility looms high on these role models of superhuman. As well, they are disciplined, they are driven by values and ethics, and they are adaptable and trustworthy. We really need a bunch of innovators of this nature, driven by a strong sense of purpose. When we are talking about responsibility, we need these role models, superhuman that we are talking about within ourselves, right? AI is driven largely by US and China is starting to play a role. Why not we? And in the responsible AI ecosystem, a responsible nation with Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam kind of thinking is the one who should drive consciousness and the thought to AI, right? And let us not forget the fact that when we are talking about superhuman, we are not leaving other humans as less because we are making these superhuman capabilities on the shoulders of the giants. We have to leapfrog with the capability of the mentors. Say, like how Hanuman was mentored by Jambavan, like you have the capability, you can use the power and jump over to Lanka. We need mentors who would help us and support our course. And the adaptability is no less fact, particularly for the today's world. Hanuman, as we remember, took a big form when it was supposed to jump to Lanka, while when with the demon, he again shrank his size to much smaller so that he can escape and leave without wasting time. We really need these innovators to have the thinking process of an innovator like Thomas Alva Edison. Not only ideas, reimagine and disrupt the entire chain. That's what we are really looking towards. Entire marketplace. And okay, we were concerned with every 6 years reinvention. Okay, there seems to be an incentive to reinvent now instead of later. So why not now? If we are able to disrupt, reimagine things, we will be pioneers, and the advantage will be we will be able to rewrite the games, the rules of the game. Okay, now that I have pointed out this is the time. Why is this the time? Three factors I see have come together. One is the Silicon Valley is no more a mindset. We right now have the tools and the tool chains like open source, 3D printers for making even do it yourself drones, and further to accelerate um, code generation tools, including ChatGPT and Cloud. So the mindset is already there with the tools. And the second factor is the set of mentors that we have. Great people combining the capabilities from industry like Pramod Verma, Nandan Nilekani, Ronnie Screwvala, Vinod Khosla, to name it, Rajan Anandan, and people like Dr. Balaraman from IIT Madras, Dr. Kamakodi, Professor Kamakodi, Director, Ajay Chowdhury, uh, Chopra, and Dr. Somnath, veteran stalwarts from the industry, and connecting them people from like Dr. Debjani Ghosh from NASCOM. We have a clear blend ecosystem which is very much in and around us, supportive to take us forward. And the third factor, and the most important factor, is the demographic dividend. And it is nothing but you. India will have 1.04 billion working age persons by 2030. We have realized the fact that cheap experiments are better than great ideas, and this has evolved us into one of the success studies, case studies from the industry, like Pramod Verma and Nandan Nilekani heading the India stack, and the support from my spirit and the media support, my story team, and then that evolving into deep India's digital public infrastructure, and today also getting shape as finternet, financial internet, where inclusion and equity is taken care. On the other side, you see a governmental outcome, organization, driven by great leadership like Dr. Somnath in space, um, which is providing the support based out of ISRO and Skyroot Aerospace, leading to new rockets, new launching pads, new um, space deliveries happening, including lower orbit satellites. We really have the multiple factors and already proven scenario to act just now. And what it means. So then we have the right environment. So why not try to be superhuman? To be superhuman, we have to have a symbiotic relationship. And what that means to have is to have a symbiotic relationship, is to combine the best of human and um, machine or AI. So where we are better at, like we are creative, empathetic, attentive to change, resourceful, decision based on many factors, while machine is more precise, logical, and consistent, non-distracted and intelligent. So customers experience kind of scenarios and discovery and design kind of elements where empathy is significant. We are natural players in that. While when in the case of Chandrayaan, when the um, Vikram lander has to land, it was not. Uh, in the southern hemisphere, it was not getting signals from the remote station. Obviously, it has to be autonomous in nature. So within that environment, it uses autonomy. And then again, in between both of these is the middle. Probably in some or many of these cases, there is a communication as well between the human and the machine, ongoing, continuous, as well as kind of reviews, like handling uncertainty with the help of reviews. We remember the case that Axiom launched. ISRO intervened to make sure there is uncertainties related um, to the test and the space lift was already reviewed and taken care. Like Don Norman points out, it's very important we understand the nuances of the game that we have to treat our relationship to similar like animals. The skilled rider, of course, reads the horse as much as the horse reads the rider. There is some communication happening in between, and each have their own way of interpreting the world, and this is interactions signaling what to do. To be on the driving seat of AI, we really need to imagine this symbiotic relationship and driving seat as considering AI in an animal world. And let us look into further nuances of human and AI, how we do things, how our intelligence is built. We have still very limited knowledge of our own intelligence, but it is all discussed about cognitive science from perception to action. Maybe, yeah, I mean, the Eastern thinking has as well its own insights about buddhi. So we go from perception to action, and it is often considered a cycle. And when we are talking about as a human, we master it like in Kung Fu Panda. We perceive things like you see the master is perceiving that water droplet is coming and catching hold of it, and then you use do actions with careful actions. You lead it to the final leave it on the leaf. This kind of learning that the master trained came to Kung Fu Panda much later after a lot of training. More than just giving an output, we are more about achieving something to achieve is primarily in our, and we are driven by emotions, ethics, values, and actions. That's what the whole story talks to us. And we human brains has three levels of processing, like basic and instinctive, which can be genetic in nature, like maybe if we are near fire, we quickly somehow act, right? Behavioral. Some of these are acquired skills, and some of these are reflective human, based on self-awareness. So we become more self-aware, we are better humans, right? That's again what is demonstrated in the capability of mastery. And here, when we treat machine learning AI as a student, here we are the master. And AI is basically something objective, measurable. And when we are talking about autonomy, again, it is a constrained autonomy that we were mostly talking about. Like, for example, if a drone, if it is lost its signals with the remote station, what it does as autonomy is it will come back to its original starting point. Or a collaborative robot, it can detect the human near it and adjust the movement. So imaginative stories obviously are in and around where robots taking over control, but something to be aware is basically as long as we follow the ethics and as long as we don't train them to go rogue, they have no chances of going rogue. AI is what we train to be. So that's where predominantly the ethics will become more significant factor in the world to come. And you might have those jobs which I mean where you will have to review the ethical aspect of um, a robot or a in task. So typically, so we have already pointed to several tasks which are revolutionized by AI. So typically what happens is very well known, well defined tasks would go to AI where you don't really require human wisdom. So while we are reimagining work, we will transition those other works where human wisdom is not required to AI. And this is seems to be natural case because we don't want to do something which won't uh, really invoke our capabilities, which won't help us be human. So this leads to invention of several new roles: trainer, AI ethics, compliance manager, automation ethics, machine relationship manager. So typically, the approach is exploitation and exploration. Like if something is very well defined, you can exploit it, or you can it's repeatable, and you can. If it is an explorative thing where you require human intervention, so then it is obviously something to be done by the human, and the tasks are eventually getting um, tuned in this direction. And AI in product development, when we look at it from the product development perspective, whether it is hardware or software, typically what happens is you discover something, identify some requirements or needs, and based on that, you build something, you validate something, validate it, and then build it, and then launch and scale. But typically, the integration part of it has already been automated for many years, already for decades. And what is getting today, test cases as well getting generated probably, but then the test cases today will probably be generated by generative AI, which in turn would mean that more scenarios are addressed. And then again, code itself could be generated by Claude AI or ChatGPT kind of tools. But the primary definition of humanized aspect remains still very much human strength, like the design, the empathy, where empathy is involved from customer experience, design, the technical experience, and that's where wisdom. So as long as uh, we we ensure we have the wisdom to take care of it, experience to handle it, that will never go off, or we kind of churn out, we reskill ourselves in that. And always we have, when we have this data as a full chain, we have more capabilities of this lean product development, lean mindset, lean startup mindset, which helps us to build, measure, and continuously evolve. And this is exciting part of the journey that we are seeing in evolutionary product development, AAS. So then another way of looking at AI is looking at all these startups. Like there is something, I mean, research coming from Google AI co-scientists, which has helped drug discovery. Analysis and insights coming from trials, cybersecurity, enumerate AI-based insights, transform your organization with AI fractal, market advisories like markets, manufacturing to increase the uptime, warehouse automation by AdWork, vision-based inspection by GDoka, and a lot of different scenarios. Space and healthcare has been redefining as well. Pixel, Skyroot, Article, and Edivio diagnostics coming into picture using AI for healthcare predominantly because uh, digitization has maybe the diagnostics enabled because finally it is possible to see our human body in the form of images, and these images could be treated digitally, and this digital when we this image recognition and vision are the technologies which has evolved very well in AI. And we will see major strides of AI in simulation, design and simulation, particularly to generative AI for design, which has been used by Nike for many years because it provides optimal product while giving the same kind of flexibility and capability. So civil engineering as well as mechanical engineering using heavy simulations will optimize the simulation time and design of experiments using AI and communication. And I mean, to be frank, communication technologies are probably predominantly using because these systems want to scale and they are large scale. And without the help of people, they should be able to scale and they use AI a lot. Customer service and education predominantly using AI and AI chatbots and AI mentors are coming into picture, say like Infinity Learn and AI assistants. In short, a quick look at AI, predominantly machine learning, is about understanding patterns from data. It can be used for descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive approaches. And then there is obviously a process of cleaning data, looking at the data before we jump into the model itself, just to highlight that fact of there is a cleaning aspect associated, which is more closer to the industry. And when we talk about, say, deep learning, how a neural network recognizes a cat, it is about feature vectors, identifying the feature maps. Let's say it initially probably looks at the layers, multiple convoluted neural network layers, feed forward neural network layers, which identify some colors, then leading to features like ears, nose, eyes, and things like that, and then combining the features to high level features, trying to finally arrive at the cat. And a sneak peek to LLMs. So LLMs also use some kind of feed forward network while combining multi-head attention, which is leading into context. So it has this transformer, basic transformer approach, input tokens and output tokens, because everything is tokenized and passed on to the feeds, uh, multi-head attention as well as feed forward networks. And then this leads to insights. And then to be able to support reasoning, they later have added the chain of thought reasoning methodology to break down a problem and solve the sub-problems and then combine to final answer. This is to enable some kind of explainability into the working of these LLMs. Um, these LLMs have been verified with huge number of parameters, 25,000 GPUs kind of measure required to train a normal LLM. which is obviously not possible in our world, also as also in the Chinese world, and the China that is where it came with DeepSeek, which is a much more um, uh, compute less intensive model, which uses mixture of experts, which is nothing but a kind of approach offloaded to the CPU. So combine the expert outputs, which kind of makes this narrow AI capabilities, thus ensuring faster and mixture of experts architecture is prefetching. So this is kind of to fine tuning which they have done in DeepSeek. Anybody using DeepSeek here? Tried out DeepSeek here? And Llama is probably the other open source approach. Flexibility approach provides flexibility for research and LLMs. While all this being said, we have to look at the landscape of AI technology and how much AI is mature technology, like technology readiness level. So there we see huge gaps, like glaring gaps, like reproducibility of several AI articles and publications. 20% of 1,500 publications are reported to have not reproducible, which is a problem. That means they are not mature enough. There are publication biases, limited real world validation, which means it is much lesser technology readiness level in many cases. Predictive AI is obviously a challenge, and prediction is not easy to do. That's where I think many of the cases like Compass often done, it has been identified that it punishes the poor because they don't have the money to pay the bail. It turns out to be this characteristics is considered as negative characteristic, a negative reward, which turns out to punish the poor. Say we can also say Kantara, the film, the success was largely unpredicted. So it's not easy to predict in the case of a film, say success in the beginning itself. So it's depending on the task probably. So these are all glaring challenges which we have to be aware, and most probably one of the things we should be careful and we should not look at is very big noise kind of people taking medicines after checking with AI, which is a big no. We clearly understand the gaps and there is a big gap which exists and that the technology readiness level is not there for many areas of it. So we should not use it in those areas. That is predominantly important. Yeah, another big question that comes to our mind, obviously, we have discussed so much about AI, is how to approach AI and learn it. Because fundamentally, to understand AI more and be on the driver's seat, we really need to learn it. One way, what I have found suitable is to approach it like patterns. Like, okay, this is classification, so let us go with support vector machine. Clustering, we go with k-means clustering. Probabilistic, so there are libraries. You use those libraries like patterns and apply using Python or some programming language like Python. If you are not comfortable with coding that much, like if you are a mechanical engineer, you can always use the Cloud A or ChatGPT. But obviously, at least try to understand code just enough to modify it to your requirements, to model it according to your needs. So that's very important. And then identifying feedback-based is reinforcement learning, identify patterns is deep learning. At this level, you can easily be a data engineer. And with these deep experiments, you will really learn machine learning pretty well so that you can make an impact. So this is self-help is a huge area of work. And this helps you to become a superhuman if you want to be a data scientist as well. So this is an example of how you could navigate this scenario to learn which approach is useful by delivered by MIT Sloan. We have already discussed the basic point, so I just left it to them. And to if you are comfortable with mathematics. And the mathematical, if you're excited by the mathematical concepts behind, which is primarily linear algebra one, uh, and also calculus to some extent, we can go into deep learning and machine learning with that. Like support vector machine, when we are talking about it, it is about vector spaces and how you create a hyperplane in between vector spaces. So we can start thinking in that direction of the linear algebra and how. And when it comes to neural networks, when we are talking about gradients, we are talking about um, convex optimization problems. So and cost functions and loss functions and the neural network layers and activation functions and how we characterize the error and things like that and approximate it so that feed forward is taken care and then like that finally translate it into an architecture. But the moment you start getting into this area, probably you are in a better position to start modifying these underground AI models, tuning some of them, changing the layers in much more predominant manner, including pre-processing and things like that, which has because as we go underneath, under the hood, we have more possibility to change the entire set of upper layers, and which is possibility to we can say disrupt. So what we are talking about here, yes, now what I have discussed is yes, we can really fulfill our ambition of being superhuman with AI, and this is would dream, lead, dream, and disrupt. Acquire those skills, maybe by applying and with teamwork, and focus on. There is a lot of gaps and focusing machine learning relationship, machine human relationship to be symbiotic. And we have, and these gaps are all emerging roles, potential roles which we can uh, already target yourselves into, project yourselves in the center of the innovation ecosystem. And you can leverage hackathons and startup ecosystem, find mentors to, who can help you realize your potential. So there is a lot of scope. There is no secret ingredient. Like finally Kung Fu Panda figured out when you open the scroll, there is no secret ingredient. It is just you. So here you all have the potential to change the game, disrupt for India, and make Vikasit Bharat happen early, maybe in 2035, which would be a great tribute to Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, our homegrown superhuman. Thank you for your kind attention. And these are my references. I'm open to questions.